Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I think that's what we can say about the CMA, the UK governing body over that rejected the Activision Blizzard acquisition with Microsoft. And it looks like things are starting to backfire. Ever since yesterday, the European Union approved it. The question is being asked, so if they approved it, why did the UK not approve it? What's the difference here? What's going on? And there's more to it than that, and it's caused this ripple effect. And I will say, it looks like they're going to have their hands tied, and the UK, whether it be for political reasons or whether it be for the correct reasons, which the EU found, that they're going to have to approve this merger. I think pressure is being come to bear in ways that perhaps they didn't expect. This is a prime example of it. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, was asked about pulling out of the UK over the Xbox-ABK deal and says, we will wait for it to all pull out. I think this is from Windows Central, where they go in detail on it. I saw it originally over on this thread. Could you ever see an age on Squawk Box over on CNBC? Could you ever see an age where you sell the product in the US if it was approved, sell the product in Europe, but not sell it in the UK if they did not approve it? Satya does not say no. If the answer is no, you say no. Like that's it. It's essentially we'll wait and see, right? Let's wait for it all to play out. That's not a no. So Microsoft is going to make this happen, especially if it's approved in the US, regardless of what the UK says. I think pressure is coming to bear in ways that I don't know that the governing body in the UK expected, especially since now none of this happens if the European Commission does not approve this. But since they approved it, the obvious question is, why is one person looking at the same set of facts? Why does one approve and one not approve? What's the difference here? One is saying, yep, we're fine with these solutions. The other is saying, nope, not at all. It's anti-competitive, et cetera, et cetera. And that question is being asked everywhere. Over on Windows Central, there's a really great article by Jez Corden where he actually goes through some of the political ramifications of this, some of the fallout for this that is happening politically. For those of us in the U.S., we're not as aware of the situation there, what's happening with the prime minister and stuff like that. There is a couple quotes that I do want to take from here. Where is it? So they do quote this tweet, actually, where Microsoft says, we'll wait for it to play out. But also the prime minister of the UK is on record as wanting to open up competition, wanting to open up marketplaces for companies, for businesses. And basically what Jez Corden is saying here is that the current party in power is not living up to that with this decision. That they've been very vocal with this and they're not living up to it. And as a result, it's causing some backlash and causing some political headaches for them where there wasn't necessarily otherwise, right? Here's how he closes his article here. The CMA has done some great and vital work in the past, but on the ABK deal, it's clear that it has barked very loudly up the very wrong tree. The headache for the UK is that everybody in tech has now seen plain as day that the UK doesn't get it on tech. Furthermore, the Prime Minister's pledges of innovation and investment through deregulation, good or not, exist only as fan fiction in a LinkedIn post serving nobody but his imagination, which is a shot at the Prime Minister. Clearly doesn't agree. Clearly doesn't support this Prime Minister, which is neither here nor there. But basically saying, step up, put your money where your mouth is. What's going to happen here? Furthermore, there was Parliamentary Overview after this decision came out. Here's the video. Here's a breakdown of it on Twitter. I actually think watching the video together is probably the best way to go, just so that we can see it together. It is a full 10-minute video, but there are some highlights here. And basically, let's go through some of these highlights that I marked here. The chair asked Cardell to be more specific. So Sarah Cardell is the person representing the CMA here. To be more specific about the commission's rationale on the remedy, Cardell says, we looked very, very carefully at this. And Florian Mueller, who is a tech regulation insider, says, quote, yeah, we've seen throughout the process what it means when they look very carefully at something, basically saying that it came out that the data that they were looking at was not correct. They included numbers that the European Commission didn't include, and the European Commission actually came out and said, yeah, I don't know what they're looking at. when they look at market share, for instance. The other thing is this question, which I thought was very relevant, is the chair. This is a parliamentary oversight committee asking the CMA. The chair now asks whether lobbyists hired by tech industry have an effect on the CMA's work. Cardell says engagement with tech industry is positive. Want constructive dialogue. Right, but I think there's an implication to that question, right? Are lobbyists hired? Who's lobbying you? The implication is, did Sony or did anybody that opposed this deal hire you? In the video, the parliamentary actually asks her straight up, like, what was your engagement with the FTC? What was the dialogue? How many times did you contact the FTC? Because the theory out there is that the FTC wanted this to happen, knew that they wouldn't be able to block it on the US side, so worked with the CMA to have it blocked, which, I mean, is just par for the course for our current administration here. But I digress. In other words, the way that this went down, it's not looking good for the CMA. Gamers are so far ahead in tech. The gaming industry is so far ahead, even in tech, that no government bureaucracy is up to speed on it. And everybody can run circles around them. Circles. And I think you're seeing it here. Their logic is just so weak, and they're being questioned. The questions are just not coming off well. And you can see it in this video. Very, very interesting. Let's actually watch. I've watched this already, but let's go through it.
For example, in relation to merger control, but it could be others, for the UK's international reputation as a place to do business?
So I'll give an initial answer, if I may, and then Marcus may want to...
Oh, let me pause it there and just comment to catch you up. So he asked, and this is in that thread, he asked, does this hurt the UK's reputation for business? And he went after her a few times on this, which shows to me there's more at stake here for the UK. There's a wave of backlash coming that I don't think anyone expected
to come in as well. We, in our work at the CMA, are absolutely committed to make sure that we support competitive markets in a way that is absolutely good for the UK and the UK's economy. I think competition is a keystone, is an absolutely foundational block of UK competitiveness. You want to have strong competition in markets that promotes growth, it promotes innovation.
Everybody's in favour of competition in markets. What I'm asking you very precisely is the international reputation of the UK. Do you consider that at all, either on a decision-by-decision basis or strategically, both of you as the leaders of the organisation, do you consider that as the UK being somewhere that is seen as open to business, yes or no?
Individual cases need to be decided on their merits. When we're looking strategically at the role of...
Pause. It's just a yes or no question. We see this all the time with politicians. Like, it was yes or no. Just answer yes or no.
The Competition Authority, absolutely, we will consider the impact of the decisions that we have and the impact that has for the UK economy, including the reputation externally. I believe that strong competition is a very positive signal for the UK's reputation.
So the CMA has taken the stance here that blocking this is great for competition. Microsoft and those of us who support this merger are taking the stance, and the EU taking the stance that actually this merger is great for competition and creates an all new sector, right? They're leading in this sector. It will open up things for gamers, options, et cetera, et cetera. In the same way, you could see it already played out with streaming. So Netflix opened up. Is Netflix the only competitor out there? No, they're not. Did they corner the market? For a time they did, but now look at all the options that you have, whether it's Disney, Amazon, HBO Max, Hulu, Peacock, Paramount. Everyone has moved to that model. I believe that you would see the same thing happening here with Xbox. Interesting to me that this MP focuses in on competition. He then later goes on, and I believe it's at like the 6-minute mark. Let's see if we can find it here. Yeah, let's tune in right here at the 6-minute mark. And he asks directly about contact with the FTC.
Today is to look at the impact for the UK. So we're balancing those two aspects. To answer your question then in terms of specifics and engagement, the extent to which we engage with...
So she was asked about engagement. Let's actually see if we can find where he asked that question. Here it is. Yeah, I think it's important to get the question.
So, for example, did you interact with the FTC in the US and the European Commission in the stages of examining this case? And what weight do you put on those discussions?
So I'll maybe take the answer generally and then come to the specifics. So the starting point I should emphasise is that we are very mindful that we are looking, post-Brexit, we are looking at a significantly larger number of global transactions than we would have done previously. And that means as a merger control authority, we are likely to be looking at deals alongside other authorities such as the European Commission and the US authorities. So when we're looking at those deals, of course we are highly mindful of the fact that we want to ensure continuity and
she eventually says yes.
A sort of integrity of analysis to the extent possible. Alongside that, our responsibility at the end of the day is to look at the impact for the UK. So we're balancing those two aspects. To answer your question then in terms of specifics and engagement, the extent to which we engage with other authorities on individual cases will depend on whether there are waivers in place from the merging parties that enable us to have specific conversations in relation to the deal. In this case, for example, we had a waiver in place that was granted by the parties that enabled us to have conversations with the European Commission at appropriate points along
the way.
And the
US FTC?
Pause. Hold on. I want to pause.
I'm not sure it's appropriate to get into the specifics of the case.
So notice that she answers clear for the European Commission. Yes, of course we did. And the FTC? Well, I can't get into specifics. Why? I don't think that's a good look. I don't think that's a good answer. That's what's being floated out there. Not sure if it's real. Don't know if it's a conspiracy theory or not, but it's not a good look. It's not a good look.
Well, you can say whether you talked to them or not.
We did not have to, in the latter stages, we did not have a waiver in place, and therefore we were more restricted in our ability to have specific
How late were the latter stages?
More restricted is not a no, we did not. Notice that.
I don't have the specific details of when that position changed.
This MP does a great job of really drilling the CMA, or this is Sarah Cardell. And I have to say, it's not a good look. It really isn't. And I think that things are getting bigger and spiraling out of control for them than they thought would ever be possible. Wonder if there's any comments down here. I'm always interested to read the comments. The EU thinks the CMA has overstated. Here we go from Tom Warren over at The Verge. The EU thinks the CMA has overstated Microsoft's 60 to 70% market share of cloud gaming, according to Financial Times. It's the Financial Times Twitter page. The CMA previously miscalculated a financial model around Call of Duty. One EU official suggested that the CMA had overstated Microsoft's share of the cloud game streaming market. This is what I was referring to earlier, suggesting that the 60% to 70% estimate stated by the UK regulator in its final ruling included many subscribers to Microsoft's Game Pass subscription who did not actually use gaming cloud features for the product. For us, it's not a separate market. It's a segment of the overall video games market, the official said. So they're just slicing the numbers to make it fit their narrative, which is very interesting. Here is the EU competition. Who is this? Margaret Vestager, the executive vice president of the European Commission. She came out and said, with our clearance of Activision Blizzard's games will also be available on the cloud. This is good for competition and innovation and brings games to many more devices and consumers. Microsoft's commitments will enable the streaming of games in any cloud game streaming service. So how is it that the same resolutions were offered to the CMA and the CMA came to a separate conclusion? That's the big question being asked. And I don't think the answer's here. You guys can go watch this video over at Everborn Saga's Twitter page for yourself. Go read the articles. I'm not a political expert by any means on any of this. I'm just a gamer where there's smoke, there's fire. And I definitely think there's smoke here. And I don't think the CMA looks good. And I think Activision Blizzard acquisition is going to happen. I think there's pressure being come to bear in ways that they didn't expect. We're ahead of the game. I see it all. We're 1 to 2 years ahead of anything else that's happening out there. You an example with streaming. Go to any corporation and they're just barely trying to figure out how to stream correctly. They're barely trying to figure out that you can sit down with a camera and a microphone and you can reach your audiences directly. You don't have to pay for an advertising agency. You don't have to pay for marketing. You can do it yourself. They're barely figuring that out. In gaming, we've been doing that for 7+ years now and doing it effectively. We're so far ahead technology-wise that these government bureaucracies, they don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance. Like, they don't even know what they're talking about, especially when it comes to tech. That's my personal opinion, and it's right. And if you disagree with it, it's probably because you're wrong. No, seriously, though, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this, if you like what we're doing here on this channel, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. We have Xbox videos all the time, and we'll see you next time.